God bless my home.
Alrighty, good evening, TSC family. Trying to get. I had to change passwords and stuff, and when I did so, I messed up some things here on my. It keeps on logging me out. Treasel Peaks. Well, we'll figure it out. Give me one little second here. Alright. I got my phone up and rolling. Alright, y'all. What do we got? Got a big, huge wave back here coming off of Africa. There's a wave right here. Means anything? Something to watch as it moves through the Caribbean. And then do we have anything over here in the Gulf of America? A little bit of cloudiness over here, but nothing organized. Nothing truly organized. Something you got to watch over here, though. Doesn't take much to get a spin going over in this area here. If you look at the National Hurricane Center update, they have a 30% chance of tropical development back here over the next 7 days. If you look at the global models, all of them are active except for the European model. I don't know why it's so silent for the next 7 days, but it is. But the Canadian model has tropical development here, moving out in the open Atlantic. The GFS model has that same system back there with development. And it also has development over here in the Western Caribbean on the GFS model. The Navy model has tropical development back here, and so does the UK model. It's funky that the UK model, that the European model doesn't have anything, while all four of the other global models has at least some tropical development on them. I don't know if that's a sign that the European model is messed up now, or what's going on. Man, I tell you what though, if you look at the NCP ensemble, this is between now and the next 5 days. Look at this. Look what's coming out of the Caribbean here on the NCP ensemble. What is the NCP ensemble? What does that mean? That's the European and the GFD model, cyclogenous tracking. That's what the NCP ensemble is consisting of. So this incorporates the GFD model and the European model into one and gives us this output. This is over the next 5 days. Here is the 5 to 10 day probability. Look at this. Look how active we get right here. Boy, a lot of arrows moving toward Florida there, isn't there? A lot of arrows moving toward the west coast of Florida. I'm not saying the west coast of Florida is going to get hit with anything, but I'm just telling y'all, west coast of Florida, look out, okay? Just keep in mind, we need to. This is our time of year when we get things. Is over here on the west coast of Florida, is basically toward the end of September into October. That's when our danger zone is over here. That's when things come out of the Caribbean, gets picked up by a cold front, and then boom, smacks us over here. All right, here's the rest of the modeling. This right here is the modeling for the Google model. Notice they don't have anything over here on the Google model over here in the Western Caribbean or the Gulf, does it? And this takes us all the way out for 312 hours out. A lot of curvature out in the open Atlantic, but you can see some of those lines are moving out in this direction right here too. Now again, this is the Google model, all right? Here is the European ensembles. And let me make sure that's all the way up to 240 hours out. I think it is. I believe it is. Let me hit that update plot here. Check it, make sure. It's turning right now. Let's hold on a second here. It'll update in just a second. Pretty sure this is the full update though. It is, yeah. So if you look back here, this right here and this one right here, y'all, it's probably going to move out in the open Atlantic, as you can see. But there are some ensembles now that do push it toward the Bahamas. So I just can't rule that out. And then you look over here in the Bay of Campeche area. Is something going to cross over from the Pacific into the Bay of Campeche over here? Man, the European ensembles are not too conclusive with that, is it? They're not. Here is the GEFS ensembles. Now, if you look at that, and you go head on out in time here, let me push this all the way out in time. How much activity are we going to get right here now? Wait for it to update. It's updating. Just give me a second. There it is. So look what it's doing. You know, there is quite a few of the ensembles here in the Gulf, isn't there? Quite a few. Now, most of the stuff out here, where's it turning? It's turning out in the open Atlantic. So we got to start watching the local storms that form in the Western Caribbean or the Bay of Campeche. That is our danger factor right now. Currently, there is our factor. This is what we got to watch. Is this area right here? Where is something going to materialize if it does? Again, this is from weathernerds.org. If you look at the European ensembles, let's look at those now. What did they do today? All right, we're out to September 22nd right there. If you look over in and now the Western Caribbean, man, the European ensembles just does not have too much there, does it? It's got some things curving up, moving area really close to the Bahamas, right there on the 21st. On the 21st right there, you can see the Bahamas are possibly getting hit with something. But outside of that, and maybe moving up the East Coast is a possibility. Now we finally get something right there around September 24th showing up there on the European ensembles. And then we got a little bit more activity down there in the Caribbean, as you can see down here and over here. So you get the idea that the tropics are going to wake up here about September 18th, 19th timeline, y'all. That's what the appearance of it looks like. And we might have something of a factor approaching maybe the continental U.S. in that timeline there. That's what the European ensemble shows. Even though there's not a lot of confidence here in the Gulf, you just look over here and over here and over here, down here. It just gives you the idea that the tropics are going to wake up close to home. And that's what it looks like. This has appearance close to home. We will get some possibility of things that we may have to watch real closely. So that's why right now I'm at a TS level 2 right now. I think that is where we need to be, because it lets you be a little bit more vigilant, okay? Check your list. Pull your hurricane preparedness list out. Doesn't mean you need to go out there and grab a bunch of stuff. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that a bit. But I'm telling you, if you live along the Gulf, or along the East Coast, if you have not looked at your hurricane preparedness kit, you might want to just pull it out and check it. Okay? And don't buy things that's going to go to waste if you don't need them. If you don't need it, don't worry about it. If you need something, doesn't mean you got to run out there today and get it. Okay? But understand what you might need to get if you need to get things. Okay? That's my only point. If you need to get something, know what you need to get when it comes time. And don't wait to the last minute to do so. Okay, that's the European model. Here's the European AFS model on the ensembles. What did it do today? It's got something moving through the Caribbean there. You see that? Then it moves over into Bahamas. The rest of it's all turning out in the open Atlantic. Then look over here, coming out of the Caribbean into the Gulf and moving through the Caribbean. You get the idea here, y'all. Just look at that right there. You just get the idea right there that toward the end, around September the 20th, 19th, 20th, the tropics in this general area could possibly be very active. And that's what we're seeing on the ensembles. Doesn't mean anything's going to get hit. Doesn't mean we're going to get hit with anything. But it just has appearance that we're going to get a little active here during that timeline. All right, now let's look at the GFS ensembles. Well, the GFS global model just keeps pulling something out of the Caribbean. Now here is the ensembles. This is September 17th. Look what's coming out of the Caribbean there. So again, look what the GFS model is doing. Doesn't mean it's right, y'all. I can't stress that. Doesn't mean it. But look how many clustering of areas of low pressure there is there. Yo, that's a fairly high confidence level of something in the Caribbean moving into the Gulf. That's a fairly high confidence level on this GFS ensembles. Now again, doesn't mean it's right. Okay, I can't stress enough. Does not mean it's correct. But it certainly looks like it really is getting aggressive there, coming out of the Caribbean there into the Gulf, as you can still keep seeing there. You know, it just keeps pumping things out of there. It just one after another. So we might see, if this, just say this GFS model is going to be correct. Let's just say, yep, it's going to be correct. We might get 2 tropical storms coming out of the Caribbean in toward the Gulf, one right after another. That might be a possibility here. And then look there in the Bahamas. Look what's happening. Might we get something there in the Bahamas? Cross over and move up the East Coast like that's doing right there, maybe. Got another big system back here moving through the Bahamas. Man, Bahamas, maybe look out. We've not had anything strike the Bahamas for a while. This might be their turn coming up here shortly. And I say shortly, it's not too far out now. We're getting, this is September 11th. Man, we all know what 9/11 is. We should always remember what 9/11 is and always teach our children and our grandchildren about 9/11. Please do not let your grandchildren, if you have grandchildren, don't let them be remiss and not know about what happened on 9/11. It cannot be wasted. Do not let lives that perished on that day be in vain. Let everyone know and keep that history going as to what happened on 9/11, y'all. That's just my thought process on that. I certainly want my grandchildren and make sure they understand it. All right, that was the GFS ensembles. Here's the Canadian ensembles. What are they doing? So far, nothing. Then look down in the Caribbean right now, September the 20th. Boom. Man, again, pretty aggressive there, isn't it? How many areas of low pressure is there? Look at the clustering of areas of low pressure down there in the Bay of Campeche and near the western part of the Caribbean, moving into the Gulf. Look at all those lows. Y'all, again, that's fairly high confidence. So we got really two strong ensemble possibilities here, with pretty high confidence level on those ensembles, the way they're clustered up there, that we're going to have something to look at here. I'm going to say around the September 20th timeline. And that's about the best I can give you. Somewhere around the September 20th timeline. Something may be coming out of this Caribbean right here that we may have to watch. Now, where's it coming from? Could it be this system right here moving through the Caribbean and then eventually gets over here and gets going? Or are we going to get something down here materialize? Which is always very possible. The gyro loop of South America down here. We can always get something out of there that gets pulled up and then gets in this direction. That's always a possibility. But it very well may be coming from this right here. That right there, that little wave right there, that's going to be moving through the Caribbean, because it's weak. It's a weak wave. Where do weak waves go? They keep going westward, right? They keep going westward. Will that weak wave make its way over here and then materialize? That might be what we're looking at here, y'all. That would be about the timeline that you'd expect to see that over in this area over here. That would be about that timeline. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. I'm going to see, is this going to move right through the Caribbean right here as a weak wave and then make its way over here? That might be what we're looking at here on these models. It very well could be. All right, here's the Navy. We already seen the Canadian model. Here is, next up is going to be the European global model. What did it do today? the European ensembles themselves did not give us too much, did it? Is the global model giving us anything? Right now, y'all, the European model is an outer layer. It's kind of out there in left field. It doesn't know. It's acting like it doesn't know what it's doing, while the rest of the models are showing something. And I don't like to see that because I always like looking at the European model for a little bit of guidance. And I'm not sure it's being accurate right now. This is the European AIFS model. Let's see if it shows anything. Does have an area low pressure down here. Now the area low pressure there. But again, doesn't show us anything. Okay, next up is the GFS global model. What did it do today? Now, whatever this shows, we cannot trust it, right? We all know that. We're smart enough now on this page that we know that we cannot trust what we're seeing here with this GFS model. Even though it's being consistent day after day after day after day of bringing something out of the Caribbean into the Gulf. Now, this becomes a formidable storm. That's down to 988 millibars right there, moving in toward the Panhandle, Big Bend area of Florida there. Close to being a hurricane. That's probably a hurricane right there at 977 millibars. Probably, let's see, let's look at it here. Let's just pull in there. I gotta zoom in there a little closer. Let's just see what it shows. Just because I know everybody wants to know. So, and again, I always tell you guys, I always show you everything and won't hold nothing back. That's an 83 mile an hour hurricane right there is what that is. 74.9, 68.6. So it's getting a little weaker as it approaches land, it looks like. Now, one thing we know this, that the global models are not very good at showing what? The intensity. They're okay for giving us track guidance, but they're not worth a diddly when it comes to giving us really the intensity guidance. So, again, even track guidance here with this. It's been over the place, guys. Here's the 16Z run. Let's see, that's the 18Z. Here's a 12Z run. Look what we have here. Where's it going? Well, it looks like it's down there in the Bay of Campeche. Look at that. Then it comes out of there. Look what. Oh boy, don't want to see that now. That's over 100 mile an hour hurricane. So look what it's doing. So the GFS model is bouncing around, guys. It's going from one place to another. It does not know where something may materialize at. It could be down here, or it might be over here. Here is the run before that. Here's the 6Z run. What does it show? Does it even show anything? Does it even give us anything? Well, it does. Look what it's doing. It too has a pretty formidable hurricane moving in toward, say, the Ocala area there. Doesn't mean that's going to happen now, okay? But the GFS model is being so consistent, it's crazy right now. Is the Canadian model following suit now? We got to have a global model. Now, we've seen the ensembles. All the ensembles, for the most part, except for the European. But the Canadian ensembles, the GFS ensembles, and the European AIFS ensembles all are pulling something out of the Caribbean or over here in the Bay of Campeche area in this exact same timeline. So we got the GFS model showing something really aggressive here, aren't we? Does the Canadian model, is it following suit? And is it giving us something as well? Well, let's see. Let's see if the Canadian model is doing something like that. Now, the GFS model will be updating here pretty shortly. It, can't wait for that, and that'd be well after probably 1 o'clock in the morning before it finishes. But does the GFS model, does it have anything down here in the Caribbean that's of concern? That's coming out of the Caribbean. Here, there, look at that. Here, there it is. There it is, right there. What's that time? September 21st. The difference is the GFS model is going a little bit further out in time than what the Canadian model is. But nonetheless, there it sits right there. So the Canadian model is agreeing with the GFS model right now. There is agreement there. So just to show you, here's the Canadian model. Here is the GFS model in the exact same timeline. Now, it's way up here. The Canadian model's down here. Can it be that far off in 10 days out? Oh, of course it can. It absolutely could. It's just a matter of timing is all it is. There isn't that. Look at this as an example. There's not that much difference in time between that down there and that up here. Y'all, that's about 1 day difference is all it is in time. That's about 24 hours difference. So there's not a lot of difference between the Canadian model and the GFS model in all reality, except it's about 24 hours more advanced on the GFS model right now. That's the difference at hand. Now, I'm not here to hype a model. I'm not here to do that. But it's something we got to start watching is these models, what they're showing coming out of the Caribbean here. The ensembles are pretty aggressive here. The ensembles are very convinced, actually, that something's going to come out of the Caribbean here. They're quite convinced of it. Let's look at the UK model. Let's look and see if it gives us anything. Let's see, the 000 run takes us out to 168 hours out. I have not looked at it today, so let's see what it shows. It probably is not going to give us anything because it's not far enough out there in time. Now, look what's happening here, though. Look at this here. Look at that area low pressure moving through the Caribbean here. You see that? That's September 17th. So in 2 or 3 days, where would this be at? Oh, it'd be over in here. But that's got a fairly strong, vigorous low pressure system moving through the Caribbean right there on the eastern side of the Caribbean. Now, where does the weak systems go? We know where they go, don't they? Weak systems go where? They go westward. They don't go northward. Weak systems go westward. So the weaker this is, if it's like this, where's it going to go? It's going to go westward. That's what they do. Okay, any other model we can look at? There's the icon. It's not going to be nearly far enough out there in time. Let's see if I put the 12Z model run up there. It'll give us 180 hours out. Does it give us anything at all? It's just not far enough out there. Just not far enough out there. Next model up I can give you, though, is the Japan model. What does it give us anything? It does take us a few hours out in time. It goes all the way out to 192 hours out. Does it give us anything at all? The only thing it's got is an area low pressure down here right there in the Caribbean, moving through the Caribbean, and there it is setting right there off the tip of Cuba, right there at that point in time, and that's on September the 19th. So it's got the area low pressure setting off the western tip of Cuba here. It's where it's at. So y'all, that's what we got going on right now. Do I know what's going to happen there? I absolutely have no freaking idea. I don't have an idea, y'all. Not right now. The ensembles are telling us one thing, though. The ensembles are telling us around the 19th, 20th, something's going to come out of the Caribbean. That's what the ensembles are telling us. The global models, the GFS model, says, yep, something's going to come out of the Caribbean. The Canadian model is saying, yep, probably something's going to come out of the Caribbean, but we're just not quite far enough out there in time yet to see it yet on the Canadian model. The European models are somewhat in denial of it all. They are in denial. They're not showing us anything like this right now. That's a good thing, honestly. That's a good thing that the European models are not showing us anything right now. I like that. That means something may not happen. But right now, I would say the odds are about 50-50 around September the 19th that we get something coming out of the Caribbean right now. That's the odds. Right now, it's about 50-50. 50% of the models are shown, 50% of the models do not. Which 50% do you want to live on? I would rather live on the 50% that doesn't show anything. That's where I would rather live at. I don't know which side of 50% it's going to be on, guys. We'll find that out soon enough. We'll find it out soon enough. Ensembles always run a few runs to a couple days ahead of the global. That's true. So that's very true. That's very true, James. That's absolutely true. All right, y'all. I'm gonna get out of here. Everyone have a great night. We'll come back tomorrow morning. We're gonna see what these models show. The Canadian model will give us a little bit more detailed. It's gonna be one day further. Okay, so it's gonna be interesting to see what that Canadian model gives us tonight. Is the GFS model going to continue to show something get pumped out of that Caribbean? I got to admit, y'all, I don't like the consistency that the GFS model is giving us right now. It's being very, very consistent. But with that said, excuse me again, the European models are also being very consistent of not showing us anything. I like that consistency too. I'd rather have not shown anything, okay, than something showing something. So we'll have to see how it all pans out. Right now, don't know. Is the GFS model going to be correct? Man, I certainly hope not. Because I do not want to see something coming out of the Caribbean like it's been shown. And this could be, it's that time of year when we'd see something like this start occurring. It is that time of year. So, again, if you look at the last few runs, the 18Z run has moving into Florida. The 12Z run has it moving down here in the Bay of Campeche and then coming up here and smacking Louisiana between the eyes. The 6Z run, where's it at? Here it is right there. Again, where's it at? It's over Florida again. So we're getting two runs out of three here. There's that run there, and here's the 18Z run, and there it is right there. 2 runs out of 3 has it moving in toward Florida, don't they? Not something consistently I like to see either, quite frankly. But that it is what it is. So let's see what the models do tonight. And we'll come back tomorrow morning, somewhere around 9:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll between 9 and 9:15, guys. I get in here. I sit here for a half hour, 45 minutes, honestly, most of the time, before I can get live, and I try to get here, sit here early enough to get on time, but then I start looking at different things, and then before you know it, I'm like a crackhead here, all messed up, and trying to get hustling here, and I can't get going fast enough there then. But bear with me. I'll always be there for y'all. I won't leave you left out. And one thing you can do is trust what I show. I don't hype anything, and I'm not going to show you something that just because of the GFS model says, what am I telling you? There's low confidence in this, guys. There's very low confidence in this. So let's not worry about what that GFS model is showing right now. But I'm telling you, we do this. Pull out your hurricane checklist and see what your needs are. Doesn't mean you need to go out there and buy a darn thing. But just check and see, what do I need to get just in case I need to get it. If you do that, you're way ahead of the game, y'all, if you need to do so. I'm going on a cruise, Western Caribbean with Royal Caribbean, 21st to the 28th. Am I going to be jammed up, Tim? Oh boy, that's a tough one. Drew, that's a real tough one there. Western Caribbean. So you're going to be over here in this area over here on the 21st, 28th. I'll just say this, Drew. I personally would not change my plans at all. But I would definitely be watching the models, and over the next few days, I would definitely be watching them. I hope you took out her vacation insurance. I hope you did, in case. Now, one thing these cruises will do, even though they're telling you they're going to the Western Caribbean, okay, what are they going to do? Y'all, they may reroute you way over here somewhere to keep you safe. They're not going to run you through anything dangerous. They're not going to do that. They never do that. They got great meteorologists on there that knows what's what. They're not going to run you through a hurricane. Okay, they're not going to do that. So instead of going to the Western Caribbean, where might you go? Well, you might go over here in the Bahamas, toward Puerto Rico. Is what you might go. Okay, that's where they may end up taking you. But they're not going to put you in harm's way. That's something that these cruises will not do. They will not put you in harm's way. But do keep watching. Stay tuned, and keep watching, and we'll see what's going on. Man, the ensembles are pretty aggressive, Drew. They are. I'm not sugarcoating it. The ensembles are very aggressive, and I don't like that aggressive they're showing right now. All right, y'all. Have a great night. God bless y'all. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning between 9 and 9:15. Have a good night, everyone.